but the clean always stays on, and they're always mixed together. So when I turn the distortion on, I still have some clean tone underneath there, so there's still some semblance of the note, and there's still some articulation, and it's not just a buzz of distortion. So basically, the basic bass tone. Now, in varying levels, you can do that with. And now I'm going through two cabinets also. The one amp, the low amp comes out of here, and the high amp comes out of here. Sometimes you might want to flip-flop them, do the high from there and the low from there. It depends on what your personal taste is. And again, this stuff is very proprietary to me only and what I do for my sound. But hopefully, by explaining this, you'll be able to see what you're doing, how it might compare to this, and how some of this may solve some of your problem, or how some of this might be some of your problem, and how you can eliminate it. Either way, it can go either way, because it depends fully on your own opinion of your own self and your own desire to play the way you want to and sound the way you want. This happens to be a real hybridized, proprietary, specialized thing that's been fine-tuned over 4,000 gigs, literally, where each night, and I'm still tweaking. I'm still occasionally, I'll tweak a little more high end, a little less low end, a little more different mid-range frequency, things like that. So it's an ongoing, it's a work in progress, and it's more of an art than a science. So to try and break it down as to an exact thing of exactly what everything does and exactly how it all works together would be difficult, if not impossible. But basically, this is an overview of the dual output setup from the bass, why I use it, why it may be valuable or worthless to you, and how it's amplified, and therefore how any of this may relate to you is fully up to you. Again, the two Ampeg SVTs are the main amps, low and high. That's why I call it low and high. Low and high pickups, blue and red, blue and red. The high amp has a little bit extra stuff before the input, and the low amp is pretty much straight. And that's basically a summation of why two chords are coming out of my bass. There are several other components on my bass, or aspects to it, that help me do some of the things I do, which may help you if you want to expand your playing or maybe go off in a different direction. One of them has been very, very important to me, and it was such a big help and so vital to a lot of my right-hand technique that I actually was afraid about telling it for a long time, because I was afraid everyone else is going to grab it and I'd be left in the cold, because it's such an essential component of the ability to play really fast with your right hand. So I had to make a conscious decision whether or not to keep it a secret or not. And at one point I just said, what the heck, I might as well tell people. Most of the licks I have, I've stolen from someone else anyway, so it's only fair. Now here it is. Basically, on all my basses, I have this pickup here, the P-style pickup. This is a DiMarzio Willpower pickup. It's a special pickup DiMarzio makes for me. Underneath, the pole pieces go all the way across. In other words, that's just 2 and 2. There's pole pieces everywhere, so as you bend the string, there won't be any dropouts. That's one of the features of the Willpower pickups. And it's also covered. Now, this particular pickup happens to be covered with the same material as the pickguard, so it kind of matches. But not all of them are like that. Some of them are black. Basically, the pickup is encased in epoxy. And I can't touch the pole pieces physically. I can touch the pickup. But when you touch the pole pieces, you notice if you have a P-style bass, take your hands off the strings, plug it in the amp, touch the pole piece, and it'll buzz. So in order to remove that buzz from my old-style Fender P-Bass pickups, maybe they don't anymore, I don't know, it was just an aspect of it, I covered it up with epoxy. And then I noticed that my playing was going really well and everything was working fine. And I decided at one point to lower my pickups down into the bass a little bit more as an experiment, and I couldn't play. And I finally realized, aha, here's what's happening. My fingers actually are rubbing across the top of the pickup, and the string is in the way. So basically I'm rubbing across the pickup. So this does several things. What this does is it stops my finger from going any farther than that, so it won't overshoot and catch on the string, and it won't undershoot and miss the string. It'll always hit, because the finger goes on the pickup right there and pulls across. The finger hits at the same spot on my, or the string hits on the same spot on my finger every time. And I actually have adapted my playing so that the 3 fingers will play on that pickup. So basically the pickup is a ramp underneath the strings, brought up very close to it. And if you push on it really hard, it doesn't go in. I have a special rubber tubing and foam and springs and things in there to prevent the pickup from moving around. It's bolted in there, and it's solid and up against the strings as close as it can be. At the very top fret, there's not a lot of room between the string and the pickup. But you notice my fingers can fly across quite smoothly. If I move off that pickup, I'm exaggerating, of course, but basically I'm overshooting and undershooting, so it's not as smooth as. You see how it catches and falls apart when it's not underneath there. There are other players that are aware of this and that I've seen. I may be mistaken, but I went to see the Gypsy Kings one time, and I think I saw the guitar player with a block underneath his guitar. He's a fingerstyle player. I may be mistaken on that, but I think that's what I saw. Another bass player by the name of Gary Willis makes a thing called a Willis ramp, which he actually sells, which is a similar thing. It's a little block that goes underneath your fingers, so it helps you to play on that and gets a consistency of tone and enables you to do those 3-finger or multi 8th, 16th note things. Smooth and fast and even. So that was a secret of mine for a long time, and I was afraid to even tell anybody because it's such an essential part to being able to play something at that speed and that kind of consistency. So that might be something you might want to try. This is all homespun mechanics, chisels and epoxy and super glue. Now some of it is done for me, thankfully, from the Yamaha Custom Shop or from DiMarzio. They do some of these things for me. But basically it was brought about by me just experimenting by myself, hammering things, chiseling things, epoxying things, super gluing things, doing all these things I had to do to get that pickup up close under the string solidly. So like I pointed out with the amp, it's more of an art than a science, and it's infinitely variable. So what's right or comfortable for you may be completely different than me. As a result, when slap players pick up this bass, they usually hate it because this pickup is here in their way, and this is right up against the string, and they just don't like it. I've learned to adapt. Anyway, adapt my slapping to fit in there so that I don't get in the way. But most slap players pick up this bass and they hate it right away because all this stuff is in their way. But these components are essential for me to be able to do that. Those notes to go by super fast and relatively smooth and relatively in time. That's a super important component of that. So it may take some experimentation on your part to be able to do something like that or get something like that that helps you. And then again, it may not apply to you or your playing at all. But that's a super important thing to me that I wanted to share with you. One other component, which is very, very important, and I've had people comment to me from all over the world, send me emails and letters, that this one point was more important than anything myself or anyone else had said regarding their playing. That's their quote, not mine, is, believe it or not, the length of the strap. Now, it can seem very stupidly simple to you, but as I'm sitting here practicing and playing, my hand is at a certain angle, my arms, the bass is sitting right here. Now, if I stand up and the strap is too long, it's going to be in a different spot, and it's going to change the angle of my hands and arms and throw a variable into the whole equation. But if it's the right length, as I stand up, it's still exactly in the same spot as it is when I'm seated. It's a very, very important part of this whole equation. All these component parts that have to be put together in order to get to the end result of, I guess, advanced playing or some fancy licks or some more advanced stuff. The more variables there are, the more things are going to change. And if you've practiced things a certain way and suddenly you are thrust into a situation where it's different, it's not going to be the same. So the things you try